Hello and welcome to the next episode of HR Hustle and Hijinks. I'm joined by Caroline.
Hello. Hi.
Caroline's the founder of Clear HR Consulting, and we'll kind of go into a bit about that, but just as a little backstory of how I met Caroline. What did you put something on Facebook and you said, I'm looking for someone.
For an associate, wasn't I, at that time?
And loads of people commented on it like, pick me, I do £20 a day, pick me.
There was two, wasn't it? There was the first one.
Oh, yes. That was when you had your desk in the lounge.
Yeah.
Oh, and I could see all of your bookcase. I was like, is she by the front door?
Have like the fuzzy on the background then. And then I moved because I felt like it wasn't very professional. People seeing like the children's Lego sets in the background when I'm holding a meeting.
Then you had the doll's house behind you.
That's so true.
And your little kitchen hat.
Yeah.
So Caroline and I have worked on a couple of clients.
Oh God, yeah. Like, yeah.
The couple, yeah. That really could have been really great and strategic if they weren't so in their own way.
Yeah, I think that they weren't ready for HR support. They were still focusing on business strategy, weren't they?
Reactive, transactional HR.
Yeah.
So that's how we met, and oh my goodness, it's been
A couple of years.
It must be, wasn't it?
I reckon so.
And then we founded the HR Playbook
last year, 18 months ago.
Yeah. And so we've once in a blue moon we'll frolic up to London.
Yeah.
Frolic back.
Feel like those networking events. We did the Breathe HR one, didn't we, together?
Oh, sacre bleu. Yeah, that was ages. Yes.
And we did the Daniel Barnett one together.
We did a bit of HR, employment law fun.
Yeah. I found that quite overwhelming. I've talked before about how I find networking quite tricky. And then I did Breathe HR. I think I did a BNI, and then I did something else, like 3 networking all in like the space of a week, and I had to lie down on a Saturday, which is too much.
Don't blame me.
No.
I think the problem is the Breathe HR one and the Daniel Barnett one. Networking with HR people is dry.
Yeah, it is.
They are so boring.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to talk to people.
And I think as well, it's great to find your tribe, like in the business that you work in or in the industry that you work in. But ultimately, when you're going networking, unless you are an HR person who's looking to work with other HR people, like really, you're going to get more out of networking by going to something where there's people in other industries, right?
Oh, I just find HR people really boring.
Yeah, not me.
No, not you. Obviously, you don't wear leopard print.
No.
I have all the leopard print. So you find that when I ever see an HR event, I'm like, they're either wearing Scamp and Dude,
yes,
a neon, a leopard print, or a floral. It will always be a print.
Yeah, but I do have neon socks on.
Show them.
Can I?
We
love my neon socks. That's as much as it goes to crazy HR lady for me.
She's also got 15 cats.
Yeah.
Putting at home policies and procedures. So
anyway,
tell us about Clear HR Consulting. Who are your clients? Who is your ideal client? Tell us about that.
Do you want me to start from the beginning?
No.
Okay, we'll go back to that. Okay, so Clear HR Consulting. At the moment, I have got about 5 or 6 regular clients, a large one on retainer I work for as head of people and culture for a company called Secret Linen Store. And then I've got a sustainability consultancy, I've got insurance, I've got a design agency. Most of them, 80% of my client base is female founded. Okay. In recent months I've kind of niched down a bit because I love working with women, Amy. I just find that I get it. Like, I get the challenges that they face. I think that most of the time when you're the founder of a business and you're scaling up, obviously the women face the same challenges as men when it comes to like building that business. No one wanted to be a people manager, did they? Like my client Secret Linen Store, they wanted to sell bed linen. They didn't necessarily want to manage people. So I really love coming in and sitting on the senior leadership team of these kind of organisations and supporting them to embed their values, create a great culture, and support not just the working parents, but like create a great culture for everybody. And I do find that women tend to be more receptive to creating that values-led culture, and consequently, like the whole employment life cycle. I feel like they're more receptive to it. Like men just want to sell stuff and make money, right? Whereas, if this is in my experience, whereas the women want to create a great place to work. There's more like love and fluff.
That's so interesting. I'm not saying I've had the opposite, but women are not like that.
Yeah.
But I think maybe just in my orbit, I just don't bump into people that are like that now, particularly in the last year. I would say actually in my last big corporate contract I did as auxiliary, 2,000 staff, big non-profit. I would say that the head of HR there was probably the worst leader,
female,
that I have ever been around. Just mainly because she's easily influenced.
Yeah.
But that's probably part of a bigger issue, which is about more about what politics and how like that sort of toxic culture. But I've had a female boss before who was very emotional and would cry. It's very. I feel like also, and I would say this, is that I feel like it's so much easier to judge a woman.
100%.
And I feel like I maybe have judged my line managers that are like female a lot harsher than the men. I expect a lot more from women than I do from men. But men have pleasantly surprised me. Like business owners have really pleasantly surprised me over the last year.
I work with some brilliant men as well. I don't want this to come across as like a man bashing scenario. It's like one of my clients, like run by like men, they are fantastic and they want to do the right thing. They always want to do the right thing by their people and they're really kind and they really look out for them. But I think my experience has been through not necessarily like the head of HR, but it's like the business owners, like those people who are going into scale up mode, those the startups, the people who are, the founders of the business. Like it's hard at the beginning, isn't it? And I feel like when I've worked with female founders, they are so intent on creating the right culture at the beginning. They understand that if you don't stop, I mean, obviously you can come into a business and you can try and create a culture, but they understand that it starts with them.
So you're talking about empathy.
I'm talking about empathy. I'm talking about investment in their people, but not just from a commercial perspective. Just making sure that they do right by their people, whether that's flexibility, whether that is making sure that they give them opportunity and not, I mean, obviously everyone's going to do it for their business.
Yeah, I think it's such a difficult thing to talk about without feeling like you're saying something wrong. But you set up your business to do what you want to do, and what you want to do right now is work with female founder-led businesses.
And scale ups. And so when I started at Secret Linen Store, like 2017, 2018, they had 5 employees, right? They had nothing in place. They had no policies, no people frameworks, no HR information system. And we went from 5 employees, we've now got 33.
Wow.
2 years ago, they won Employer of the Year at the Dynamic Business Awards. At the same day, they got B Corp accreditation. So I took them through the B Corp accreditation process. They scored like a massive 110 points, which is incredible. Like 80 is the pass rate. So like we created great things for them. And I think that this, as I said before, like the scale ups or the startups, if you start from the beginning, create that amazing culture.
Yeah.
You can embed that and it can keep going from like, I would say it's the same business culturally today as it was 7 or 8 years ago. We like run an engagement score, like their engagement sits at like 86, 89%. It's great. And it's great to be a part of that. And I love taking that to my other clients and saying, okay, like, what did I learn from that? What do we do really well? What can we do better? And I just love taking that to new clients and saying, look, I actually don't think that like a formal performance review, like performance reviews or like appraisals, whatever you want to call them.
Appraisals.
Like, I hate that once a year process.
That is not anywhere near the financial year end.
Right.
And there's tick boxes at the beginning. How do you think you've done? Average.
Yeah.
Very good.
And like set yourself some goals for the next year. Like I that whole process I hate. Yes.
Yes.
But I'm not going to tell you what the business goals are. I'm just going to ask you what you're going to achieve over the next year. So like some great things that we've done is like set in like those quarterly reviews. And actually we have 2, or a lot of my clients now, I took this from Secret Linen Store and rolled it out to lots of my clients, which is we set in place 4 over the year. 2 are manager led, 2 are people led. So if the employee doesn't want that extra one, they don't have to have it.
That's really interesting, actually. So let's come back to, how did Clear HR Consulting start? Tell me how it bloomed.
So I had worked in corporate HR for about 10, 15 years.
Did you have cool hair like this then? Were you part of the system?
My hair's changed all the time.
Were you part of the system? What colour was it?
I mean, I've gone from brunette to bright red.
No, tell me what colour it was when you left corporate.
It was probably bleach blonde.
Was it?
Yeah, I reckon so.
Still not too wacky.
Not too wacky.
Well,
I'm just laughing about the fact that as soon as you move out of corporate, don't you? You start to like form your own identity.
You just be yourself.
Personal branding's so important.
Just become yourself.
Yeah. Definitely now I'm like mid-40s, like finding that I'm much happier being myself than I was.
Imagine wearing a shirt every day. I used to wear a shirt every day and heels.
And heels. I don't think I own a pair of heels now.
I can't wear a shirt. It gives me it actually genuinely gives me trauma.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I just find that back then, I don't know how corporate culture is now. It's been so long since I sat in corporate.
Trainers. It's like when you go to the club.
But a shift dress. Like, do you remember shift dresses that you used to have to wear? And like 70 denier tights. So I reckon I'd been in corporate HR for about 15 years. I'd worked for like a big fitness organisation and in their HR team, and then got made redundant, was devastated. Went to global publishing organisation. It was great.
How many times have you been made redundant?
Just the once. How many times have you been made redundant?
Never. I did get booted out though, didn't I?
Yeah.
I've been that.
For having a baby.
Yeah, I guess maybe that. Does that count? We'll put that 0.5.
Yeah.
I've had it half a time.
So I started the business because after I'd had my first baby, I put in a flexible work request to go part-time. I wanted to work 3 days a week. This is before hybrid working, so there was no choice to work from home.
So can I just make a point? Part-time?
Yeah.
What a load of shit is that?
Yeah.
Because when it's actually a break to come to work, but you've still got...
Absolutely, I'm still working.
Yes, but you've still got all of your work. Part-time, I think, is such a lie. Unless if the role has been made part-time from its actual inception.
100%.
Otherwise, you're doing the whole of the work.
You're still doing the work in 3 days.
Those days.
And let me tell you, no one else is, well, not nobody else, but I think you'll find that the majority of working mothers will still get their 5-day-a-week job done in 3 days, 2 days, 2.5 days, whatever it is they get. Like, the only person to give a deadline to is like a working mom.
I call that a microwave minute.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know how a microwave minute goes really, really, really slow?
Yeah.
I feel like ever since I became a parent that I am so efficient in time now that I feel like you just become a microwave minute you're just really efficient, but time seems to be just a lot more modular and you just get stuff done.
Get stuff done. So I put in my flexible work request and it got what I wanted got declined, which was I wanted to do 3 days and I got given 4 days, but it wasn't actually 4 days, it was 5 days and 4 days, so they condensed my hours, which meant that I didn't get to spend any time with my new baby. So I thought, sodja, and I went back to work pregnant with my second child.
I know what will show them.
Yeah, I know. So basically, I went back to work. I was already pregnant, and I went back to work. And I think I was at work for 6 months, and then my intention was always, I'll go back to work. I'll when the next baby's around, I'll build up a business with 2 children at home.
I'll have loads of time.
So I started. And then I started working whilst my second baby was born. For another HR consultant.
And that's how you say that. Like, it's not you that's having it. Whilst the baby was off being born.
I know, right?
It was you.
I know. I used to put her in those jumperoos. You know, those things are like those wheelie things, and she'd like scoot around, and I'd like push her away, and she'd like come back to me. So I worked with another HR consultant, a lady called Emily Perry, who I worked with for a couple of years. And she went in-house, and then I built up my own business. So I reckon I've been doing Clear HR for the last 8-9 years. And in the last I'm now in my 3rd year of trading as a limited company. And I did it to be flexible. It's not flexible. Like, you think, oh yeah, well, I'm going to pick up the phone when I want to pick up the phone. I'm going to email the client when I want to email. It doesn't work like that. I was very misguided, but I'm so glad that I did it, because it's taught me so much, and it's taught me what I enjoy about HR and what I don't enjoy. Like,
but it's flexible as well, because it's flexible in terms of, but you don't have somebody who's approving your holiday.
Yeah,
you don't have to go to somebody and say, oh, I've got a dentist appointment, do you mind if I take an hour off tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh, that whole thing, that irritates me.
Yeah.
I don't ask anyone for anything.
No,
I'm my own boss.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it gives you more scope to do what you want to do. And also, you can, like, when you work in corporate, you can't tell the manager to go away, right? Whereas if you work with clients that you don't necessarily get on with, or whose values aren't aligned with yours.
Oh, you always have that one manager that you hate.
Yeah.
And they come and knock on the door, and
same problem every time.
Or they'll be like, can I have a quick 5 minutes? Do you know what? No, you can't.
Yeah. Because you're going to tell me that someone else has been absent again, and how do you deal with the short-term absence procedure? And I've already told you for the last 2 years how to deal with the short-term absence procedure.
Yeah. And we've just had to
have that difficult conversation.
Probation from your team. So bugger off back to your desk, you idiot.
So I don't miss it. I don't miss it at all. I would never say never about going back to corporate, but I think I'd find it really hard. Yeah.
I don't think I could fit in. I don't think I couldn't do that typical 9 to 5 being in that mindset again.
I don't think I would do 9 to 5. I'd probably do 10 to 4.
I'd probably do like maybe 12 to 3.
So I feel like we talk, don't we, about like other HR consultants like Sarah May, who we know, who's like niche down into ER, like being like Mayday HR and helping people out with like those really sticky problems. I feel what's great now is I can do that stuff if I need to. But this is where I go back to. I love working with startups and scale-ups. I love helping them set like those foundations. I love like creating that amazing culture for people, and making sure that the employees feel valued and looked after, and that the values filter down. And then actually you find, like, if you've got a good team and you've scaled up that business, that the problems don't actually come around that often, because everybody, you've helped recruit the amazing people, you've helped instill the values from the beginning, you've helped the managers manage,
and people can communicate, and they can communicate in a mature way, and people may not always agree, but they can talk about it what they don't agree with. And this is what I really love about my relationship with you, is that we can both do the same thing, but we niche differently. Because I don't want to be if I ever get a whiff of something that's like grievance related, it goes to Sarah. And it's the same thing of like, if I know that there's something that actually I can't commercially help somebody like strategically exit or get, make their business more valuable, then it goes to you. I just think that it makes it work so much nicer, because we are not normal HR people that are just doing generalist support. Because then it's like, well, how does that even work? What, you want me to do a probation review? Do you want me to
sit in on the performance reviews? No, I'm going to help your managers.
Help their sick day. Do you want me to do your payroll support? Like, no, I couldn't think of anything worse. I won't lie. I do. When I'm already on a retainer with some clients I absolutely adore, I do end up doing some shitty things, but who cares? I'm like, I love you.
This is where I'm at with like my big client, Secret Linen Store. We do some like I support the whole staff, like do everything, because at 31 employees they don't need a head of people and an HR administrator, so I do everything. But I love it. And actually that gives me my exposure to what I need to. So then when I need to go into other businesses and say, right, this is what you need, this is what you need help with, this is where you need to be focusing, outsource this, employ someone here. It's given me a really great grounding.
Got a good question for you.
Go on.
So you talk a lot about scaling, growing teams, growing businesses that are authentic and genuine. Tell me some horror stories that you've seen in recruitment processes. Actually, no. I want you to first tell me a funny story about like an interview process.
Okay. I'm actually going to answer the first question. I can probably answer really well. Is the narcissist? I had the narcissist interview, a narcissist interviewing once, who every question that they asked the candidate, they didn't listen to the candidate's response. They just answered the question for them. So they would say, tell me about your CV. Let me tell you about my career history. And we were like, oh, we're not interviewing you. We're interviewing the candidate.
The balls.
Yeah.
Who does that?
I know. So that was quite an interesting one.
Did they know that they had done that at the end?
No, because like a narcissist has no understanding, do they, outside of their own personal world. So
Weirdo.
they came out and I said, I'd like throughout the interview, I kept saying, well, should we just let the candidate talk through the answer? Or can you just embellish it? But it was just really hard because they just brought every single question back around to themselves and their own experience. That was quite interesting.
Ew.
I had another, oh God, it just kills me. I just talk about this sometimes when this is a big no-no, and I do this when I do recruitment training.
Talk about this sometimes.
Well, when I'm doing training and I talk about recruitment and like good recruitment practices, I give this as an example of what not to do. I was sat in an interview with 2 employment lawyers, and they were recruiting for maybe legal secretary, someone to support them. And the woman, they were interviewing a woman, and she had a number of children that she'd brought up without being asked. And the employment lawyer said to her, well, how are you going to balance, like the 9 to 5 when you have to pick your children up from school? And I was just like, you don't need to answer that question. Like, her childcare pickup or her responsibilities have got absolutely no bearing on whether or not she can do the job. So you don't need to answer that question. But out of everybody who conducts the interview,
the worst.
they're always the worst.
Employment. Do you know what? I sat in a I could die still. I never feel uncomfortable, but this made me feel so uncomfortable. They came in. The candidate came in, sat down. And I obviously came in. Do you want a drink? No. Do you always walk with that limp? An employment lawyer. Do you always walk with that limp? I don't even know what to say. I was like, why? Why would you ask that? And that's another thing that shocks me, is how many people don't ask when they're inviting people to interview. Do you need any reasonable adjustments? Why do people not ask? So why are you asking about the limp?
I just like...
Oh, somebody's asked me once, they were like, do you always wear your glasses? Like, yeah, if I want to be able to see, baby. My last corporate job, actually, I did get asked, when are you starting a family?
It's so dumbfounding. It's so, I can't even begin to express my frustration about, and this is what I'm talking about when I talk about like being able to support women at work, and it's not just about the founders who are women, but I get so frustrated by the assumption of women having children, that judgment on marriage, children, that judgment.
How many children?
How you are going to balance it, not your husband or your partner or the father of your children. How are you going to balance it? I that's what I find incredibly frustrating. And I do feel that when I work with female founders, they get that. They understand the challenges that women experience in the workplace, and you just don't get it.
Yeah.
You don't get that judgment as much.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting. We just spoke about this before we started obviously recording about how we were the biggest hypocrites. And when I first started the business, I sat on Pregnant and Screwed, and I was running their Friday line. So anything that was like really complex would get escalated to me, legal referrals and stuff. And I remember sitting on there, and I did it obviously for a certain amount of healing and vindication for myself.
Yeah.
But I used to say on a lot of the calls, I'm actually the biggest hypocrite, because before I had a child, I was like, I'd be thinking, well, why are you putting through this flexible worker request? Like, why? Like, just do your work. I don't get it. And it's not really until recently. I mean, Teddy's just turned 4 and he's going to school in September. It's only not until recently, like maybe 2 weeks ago, where it's actually the penny's dropped, where I'm like, holy shit, there's 6 weeks
And in the summer holidays, yeah. At least 6 weeks.
Over Christmas.
Yeah. 2 weeks at Easter. 3 half terms. And again, this is where I go back to being able, because the majority of childcare responsibilities do fall to the women. They do. This is where I feel it's so important to, the women founders that I work with get it, because actually the majority of them have had children. But also, like setting in, not even just the policy, but the culture that supports women. I remember declining flexible work requests before I had children. Like, here just not really getting it and not really understanding it. And it goes beyond children. I had I remember having this scenario where this woman had children, but she was also a carer for her mum, right? Mm-hmm. And her mum had Alzheimer's, and the woman put in a flexible work request so that she could start work later. She wanted to work less hours. And the business said no. In this team, we don't work less hours. Part-time doesn't work. You can come in later and you can finish later. So before work, she would come in, or she would go to her mum's house, and she would look after her mum, set her up for the day, give her breakfast, care for her, get her up, make sure she went to the toilet. Then she'd come into work. She'd have to work a longer day because she wasn't coming in at 8 anymore. She was coming in at 9:30, and then she wouldn't get to spend the evening with her kids. So that whole level of frustration that I feel about women being the primary carer, and just ensuring that businesses can support their people, they can still be commercial. They can still run a successful business. Yeah. Even if someone works an hour less a day, because this work will still get done.
And anyone listening to this and is thinking, I don't believe any of that, I would just like to point out we actually have a systemic discrimination problem in our country, because let's just go to maternity leave. Yeah. Maternity leave is a whole year. Paternity leave is 2 weeks. Yes. So we actually are starting from the get-go as the mum being the primary parent.
Absolutely.
It is so difficult for dads to even feel like they are in some way even equal, because they've got to then go back to work really soon. Yeah. And then shared parental leave. Could that be any more difficult?
I read a statistic. Like, once shared parental leave came into effect, I read some statistic that the first year it came into effect, in the whole country, 2 dads used it.
And I bet all of their HR teams were on the phone to ACAS like, we do not know how to even calculate this. It's just nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
And I think, going back to your point about, because what happens with the dad only getting 2 weeks paternity leave is, by design, then everything falls to the mum. So then it's all in your head.
Snack time, favourite foods.
Doctor's appointments, registering the kid for nursery, taking them around the nursery schools, like all of that stuff then falls to the women. And then, people are at work, and who do the school phone when the kids are ill? They phone the mum.
Oh, do you know what I've done?
Go on.
Mark is the primary parent for nursery, and he's also the invoice one as well. Because I just think, like, he's actually also better to speak to. Out of the both of us, I'm not the one to catch on the fly.
Yeah.
Don't call me up and tell me there's a problem, because I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to be like,
how do you want me to solve that? Do you need me to come and get my kids? Like, be specific. Yeah.
Tell him to lick it and it'll be fine.
Yeah, it's really tough, isn't it?
Do you remember that at school? Do you remember the little paper towels? Do you ever get that?
Yeah, and then they put paper towel on it, because they weren't allowed to do anything else, were they? In case you were allergic to the plaster glue or something.
It's probably made of like some absolutely dodgy stuff.
Yeah, probably.
In the 90s, I remember there being like some sort of thing that somebody had a plaster on their knee and it took off all their skin.
Really?
It was like weird boob tape. I don't know.
Was that at your school?
Yeah, I actually went to a private school then as well.
You probably would have got like private medical and private healthcare, wouldn't you? That shipped you off to Bupa.
Yeah, but then when I got to like year 4, and then I went back to state school, which is like prison rules, isn't it?
Yeah. No fun allowed.
Yeah, just hitting people with rulers. But yeah. Any more stories?
What, recruitment stories?
One more.
Go on.
I think for maybe just another recruitment fail that you've seen. I want you to. Have you got anything else?
So I've got ones where I've like majorly messed up, where I was recruiting for like a really high level FD role, and invited the chap in, was conducting the interview, my pen ran out like at the beginning. So I had to pretend.
I always find this so funny.
I had to pretend to write
I can feel it.
for like an hour because I couldn't. I felt like it would have been really unprofessional of me to say, "Sorry, can you stop? Like my pen's run out. I just need to nip out." I mean, it wouldn't have been.
Was this at like the beginning of your HR?
Yeah,
career?
I would say like early days. It was early days.
Yeah.
Now I'd be like, hold fire, I need to go and get a pen. Stupid me, your pen's running out.
Oh, I'm not going to
Well, now I take 7 pens just in case.
Just one like earlier.
But it was just so awful, and I just sat. And then obviously he could see like what I was writing, so I had to take it off the floppy bit of paper and had to take it off the desk. People like wouldn't let people copy you in the olden days. Like you do that, and I was having to like write like the interview notes. That was the funny one.
Got kids, don't hire.
Oh God, that was just yeah.
Do you ever do that? I'll be like walking and I'll just like go on my phone and I'll pretend I'm on my phone and then I'll realise that the screen's out.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, they knew I wasn't on my phone, I was just talking to myself.
Oh my goodness. I'm trying to think of another one. I had another one where the intervieer fell asleep.
Yeah, I love that.
The candidate, either the interviewer was really tired or the candidate was really boring. Or it was a bit. I think it was probably like customer service. Like it wasn't.
That's not boring.
No. And like these people were in, out. But you know when you're sat in those rooms and it's all day. Yeah, that was quite a fun one.
Remember I told you about the time where I was hiring during COVID and I was hiring devs.
God.
And he was in his bed. Oh my God. I can't bear it. And he was talking and he had... No, there's two, so I'm getting them mixed up. One was sitting at his desk and he had a tie on and a suit and a little jacket. And he was just chatting around and then he knocked his cup of tea on him and he stood up and he wasn't wearing pants.
He had no pants on, like no trousers.
He had briefs on, but not trousers.
Did he burn his legs? That's what I mean. Oh my gosh.
It was all on the... Yeah. And I've had somebody do that interview in their bed before. And that was really weird. So I actually said, could you get out of bed? Somewhere else to sit, like even just sit on the stairs, sit somewhere that's not in your bed. That's kind of weird. But yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
On that note,
yeah.
Thank you
Off
so
to
much.
bed. Yeah.
Do you know what?
It's not been that boring.
My pen's not
Surely, no notes today.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Lovely long time.
Lovely long time too.
And yeah, stay tuned for another episode and make sure that you subscribe, you follow, and leave us a little comment of what you liked and what you found funny. Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.